Yeah, I've been looking at the effects panel and we'll continue looking at the effects panel by actually applying some effects, some plugins or some special effects to our footage items of various different types. There's a bunch of built-in effects in Premiere, and we will find them under the effects panel. So let's head back over to our project and find our effects tab here. You can obviously pull it out if you can't see it under the effects window. In my workspace, I've got it over here in this panel set, and you can see a bunch of different effects here: effects, presets, and also transitions. And I suppose transitions are kind of a big part of video editing. How do you get from one bit of footage or one cut, one shot to the next shot? So there's a whole bunch of those transitions built in here, video and also audio transitions as well. So the dissolve is probably one that's utilized quite a lot. Some of them are pretty cheesy, as you know, iris wipes and things, but they're all there. There's also a bunch of video effects, and under the video effects we have things like color correction and tonal adjustment that we can do, things like kind of levels and um, ways of different adjusting the tonal range, as well as kind of deforming things and special effects types of filters as well under here. Let's start, I think, just by looking at this clip here, which I thought maybe could be a bit brighter. So we could easily apply an effect to that to boost the tonal range. And if I have a quick look through maybe image control or color correction, brightness and contrast is something we're all familiar with. So I'm going to drag that and drop it onto that particular clip there. And you'll see that along with a whole bunch of other of our motion effects there, and I might just twirl those up and opacity, we've now got this brightness and contrast set of controls, and we've got a slider for our brightness and our slider for our contrast. So that's how what we do. We apply the effect to the clip and then we adjust it in the effects control panel. And I'm going to just bring up the brightness just a little bit, just so we can see a little bit more of their tunics and whatever. And it kind of blends it a bit more with the rest of the clips in the timeline. We can add more than one effect at a time. So for example, on this first clip, I'm going to add a kind of a transitional, make a kind of a transition for the opening sequence out of effects. I'm going to add, to start with, a Gaussian blur onto this, whatever this is, this sort of turbine looking footage. In the effects, I've added it in the effects control panel. I can now see the Gaussian blur properties, and I'm going to adjust the blur of that piece of footage over time, so it's really blurred. And I don't know, just because I know where it is, let's add the brightness and contrast as well. So we've got a kind of a stack of effects there now. And I'm going to ramp that up so it's kind of like blown out. Now, effects, like everything else, can be keyframed. You can see all these stopwatch icons, and I'm going to keyframe the blurriness, and I'm also going to keyframe the brightness, and then I'm going to move forward in time to about here, maybe here, and I'm going to add a new keyframe at these points for both of those properties, and I'm going to drop that back to 0 and drop that back, oops, to 0 as well, so that we've got this, we've added that kind of introduction there, and I'll just play it.
Welcome to Industrial.
And that's kind of good. It gives us a sort of a starting point, segues us into the video. And we've done that by keyframing some effects. So that's useful to do some of that effect, special effects inside the editing tool. Also in the effects, we've got all of these transitions, as I mentioned earlier, that we could use. So we can do stuff like maybe we'll get the dissolve and we'll cross dissolve from one clip to another. And let's have a look at that. I want to zoom in on that and have a look what's going on there. So that's the implementation of a cross dissolve, and you can see that now it will transition from one clip to another, depending on how much of the kind of the clip that you have available there. You can see it's cross dissolving over, starting this clip at this point here and cross dissolving into the next one. Let's apply a cross dissolve to another part of the project, maybe the endpoint over here, and we'll see that it's a little bit different because there's a bit more of each clip there, so the cross dissolve is a little bit more balanced at that seam there. And so now we've got so that's the cross dissolve, but we could try another transition. So maybe like a what could we do? An iris, a round iris transition. So that's going to create like a little ball that appears. It's kind of good, and we could then dip that to black at the end there to finish off the whole project, and fade to black. And you can also adjust the length of your transition. So if I wanted that dip to black to go for longer, I could. And with the with our watermark up here, I'm going to create or add a cross dissolve just to that, so that it kind of fades in at that point, and maybe it will fade out at this point over here as well. All right, I think I might leave it there in terms of sound, in terms of effects. We'll come back shortly and we'll have a look at maybe doing a little bit more with some sound.